Good evening, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Hope you guys are staying warm. And if you're in our area, hope you guys are ready for some snow. Looks like we're going to get hit pretty good today, or tonight and tomorrow. So just want to hop in here and let you know over the next few minutes, we are going to be talking about overhead budgeting and why you need to create an overhead budget in your landscaping business. We've been doing tons of coaching calls here lately with members of the Millionaire Academy. And this is one of the top things we've been hammering down. And I kind of wanted to just express to you why you want to be creating one and how it's going to help you. So if you're not familiar with me, first off, I'm Scott Mulchan, the Million Dollar Landscaper. I'm a landscape business coach that helps you make more profit by really understanding your numbers. And like I said, in this video, we're going to go over one of those numbers. It's going to be creating an overhead budget. Now, first off, before I get started, I just want to remind you to make sure you guys have grabbed your guide to planning your 2022 landscaping season. This will be coming down here probably after another month or so, but it's a great resource to help you get you thinking to plan your 2022 season. You're going to looking at stuff what went well in the past, what didn't go so well, and help use that information to plan out the next season. So over the past couple of weeks too, we've been talking about all these components that goes into actually planning this out. And so let me share my screen with you, just show you some of the things we've talked about. And if you haven't watched any of these videos, go back, watch them. They're very informative. So one of the things we talked about is the steps to create a profitable estimate. So we talked about the true labor cost, we talked about true equipment cost, and then overhead budget. And this is what we're really going to dive into today. Now, if you're not familiar with what overhead entails, it's what it says right here. It's operational expenses not directly billable to a job. So what I mean by this is you can't really go give your customer a bill or put a part on your estimate or your invoice stating you have to pay your rent or your water bill or electric bill or anything like that. No, you can't do that. So that's the kind of things that goes into an overhead budget. And once you have all that, that's when you can start creating those estimates. And we recommend that you create an overhead recovery estimating system. So once you have that budget set and there's different methods to doing this, but once you have that budget set, you're going to take a percentage of that and apply that to every single job. And if we have some examples here, just of some different types of overhead recovery estimating systems. So there's a SOARs, DOORS, MOORs, and OPPH. And we kind of dove into those in some of the previous videos. So again, if you haven't watched those videos, go back and check those out. Now, some of the reasons you want to create that overhead budget we talked about. And let me actually pull one up here so you can actually see it. I'll make this a little bit bigger for you. Make it so you guys can actually see it and read it. Now, this is one we have inside our Million Dollar Academy. And when you go through the academy, you actually go through a whole course on creating this overhead budget. And some of the main reasons you want to do this is because it is really a good tool to look at and see if you're going to be profitable. And we have some members of the academy have gone through this and been like, holy cow, I'm showing a negative net profit before even the year begins. And it gives you a good guideline to start looking at your numbers and what you need to be, putting in this budget to make sure maybe you made a mistake. Something's it shouldn't be in there that's in there, or maybe you've actually put things in two different locations that shouldn't be there. So in an overhead budget that we recommend you create, you're going to start off with your sales goals. So you're going to put in whatever your sales goals for that year. You want to make 200,000, you want to make 500,000, 750,000, 1 million, whatever it is, you're going to put your goal for the 2022 season. It's always good to have goals. We always want to plan that thing out and shoot for what a reasonable goal would be. I don't, if you did 200,000 last year, going to $1.5 million may not be practical this year, but be realistic with it, but give yourself, a little room to kind of grow into it. The next section we can talk about is your cost of goods sold. Now, these are things that can be billed directly to a customer. So you're going to have, materials, your subcontractor, field labor burden, equipment rentals, and miscellaneous. Miscellaneous should be kind of small, but those are things you can actually bill a customer for. So if you're installing a paver patio, you can bill them for the base material. You can bill them for the fabric. You can bill them for the stone and all that stuff, the labor that goes with it, the equipment that goes with it. All those things are items that can be billed directly to a customer, those are your cost of goods. And then you're going to get down. Oh, actually, let me step back up here real quick. So once you set your sales goal, you put in your cost of goods sold, and then you subtract those. So you subtract your cost of goods from your total sales. That's going to give you your gross profit. And this number here, should be a pretty good size number. If you're shooting around 50%, that's a pretty, say, somewhat of an average that you should be shooting for. But something I wouldn't set in stone, but that gives you a kind of good idea. But if you're showing, a negative, or you're showing only like 2% gross profit, that's not good, because we haven't included our overhead yet. So it's a good idea to kind of plan this out and see where you're at with your materials and everything. Once you do that, then we need to start calculating out what our overhead is. So like I said, the overhead is basically the bills that you can't give to a customer. So you can't bill them for, you have here, advertisements. You can't bill them for any bad debts you expect. Computer software is downtime labor, education, licenses and permits, not licenses and permits for, not permits for your jobs, not that, but cell phones, like office equipment, office supplies, your CPA, your bookkeeper, all those types of things. Could even be your salary as the owner, depending if you work in the field or you don't. Telephone, uniforms, overhead vehicles. These are the types of things that go into an overhead budget. And what we've been finding is when people do all this, they fill it out like in this section, all the green, what they plan on spending this year. And they start subtracting out your gross profit margin. Remember, that was your sales minus your cost of good. It gives you your gross profit. And when we subtract our overhead, some people are very surprised at the bottom number here. They're seeing a negative net income, or net profit, I should say, or they're shown a very low net profit. And it's like, holy cow, something needs to change. So then we can start diving in and really looking at, can we lower our overhead? Is there anywhere we can lower that? If not, okay, then what can we lower in our cost of goods? Can we get our material from somewhere else that's cheaper? Can we lower our labor costs? Maybe we need to be training our people to be more efficient, more productive in the job site. And all this is by just looking at the simple budget. Maybe you're spending too much money on rental equipment. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of throwing that out there, but those are types of things. If you still can't lower any of that, then we can look at our total sales. Perhaps from there, we need to just bump up our prices and keep our materials, our field labor, all the same. Maybe we just need to increase our pricing, which would just be up here. Nothing else would change. And then you'll be surprised. You might start seeing, a higher gross profit. You'll start seeing a positive net income, or net profit, I should say. So it's very important to kind of go through and figure out all this information. Now, if you're using any kind of software out there that helps you create these, this is the reason why. Because now once we have this, and depending on what kind of overhead recovery estimating system you're going to use, you're going to start creating some calculations based on these numbers to figure out what percentage you're going to add to labor, what percentage you're going to add to material, equipment, and so forth. So it's very important to start off the year by making one of these overhead budgeting estimating spreadsheets here, not estimating, one of these overhead budget spreadsheets. It's a very simple process once you kind of go through it. The biggest question we get is, what should be here, or where should be certain things be at? But it's important to kind of get started. The first one we did was pretty ugly. It took us a long time to get through it. Honestly, now I could probably go through this in probably about 20 minutes once I have some of my numbers in front of me. And a good way to kind of get going on this is to look at some of your past P&L statements. I recommend looking at the past couple of P&L statements, see what you've spent on all these types of things. And if you haven't, maybe talk to somebody that's in the area, or another company that's out there that does something similar to you, and just find out, how much are they spending for these type of things, for advertising, cell phone usage, and all that stuff. But it's important, so important to create one of these budgets. And honestly, when you start creating this budget, you'll be very surprised at some of the numbers that come back at you with you. So you guys have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat below. But this is one of the main things, one of the first things we really recommend people do when they join the academy. First off, they're going to figure out what their employees cost them. Next thing they're going to figure out is what their equipment cost them, because we're going to put all that information into this budget. And now we're going to create an overhead budget. And now once we have our budget, we have our numbers set, we can use those numbers in our estimating. So All right, guys. I know it's a little bit much. Sometimes people get scared off by these numbers, but trust me, when you start going through it and start seeing it and start just really looking at it, can become very simple. All right, guys. Hope you're having a great night, and we'll be talking to you soon. And just remember, as we say here, you need to do it dirty. If you've never done anything like this before, don't let the perfection get in your way of progress. Like I said, do it dirty. It's okay. If you've never done this right the first time, you can always go back and fix it later. And if you guys like this type of video, let me know. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And check out the Million Dollar Academy. It's where we've got the training, the tools, and support for landscapers like yourself who really want to take control of their future and make 2022 the best season yet. All right, guys. Hope you have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.